I do have a speech prepared. It's in my pocket. Actually, it's in my left and my right pocket, just in case I got confused. But before I get there, I just want to say that this has been an evening of really beautiful threads coming together, because the piece that you heard of Julie Wolf's was actually the very first piece of Julie's I ever heard. In fact, we presented it at the St. Louis Symphony in a percussion festival, and it blew the roof off. In fact, it is perhaps the only piece that could make Antheil's ballet mécanique seem really tame. What Jeremy Denk has played tonight, well, has in a way encapsulated a good portion of his Carnegie Hall career. His first solo recital in Zenkel Hall was the Concord Sonata combined with Beethoven's Hammerklavier Sonata, because he wanted an easy night. And then for his return, he performed Ligeti Etudes and the Goldberg Variations, because he felt pretty good about the first time around. And only a few weeks later, he substituted for Maurizio Pollini in the big hall, playing Concord and the Goldberg Variations. So, and I think even you played the Concord in a pre-concert recital when the Emersons were doing their Beethoven String Quartet cycle. So that's a wonderful thread. And of course, having spent so much great time with David over the past few years, he is perhaps one of the most inspiring and hilarious co-conspirators. It always felt like we were doing something naughty. A couple of years ago, the conductor David Robertson and composer John Adams did a conductor-composer workshop for the Weill Music Institute at Carnegie Hall. And the piece that they chose to end that entire workshop was Michael Gordon's Yo Shakespeare, which may rival Darkful Ride in terms of sheer impact. So in a way, everything has come together tonight, and now we're, because I am much more comfortable reciting in order the opus numbers of the Beethoven string quartets than I am talking about myself, I wrote down some stuff, and I hope you'll forgive me for reading. At the risk of offending my hosts, I've never considered myself a visionary. That term has seemed to apply to other people who do their work on their own. I've always done work with other people, and it's been a long time since I've been on stage on my own. In fact, this may be the first time in a long time. But since I'm up here anyway, I'd like to suggest that vision is more often than not the result of a dialogue from which an idea emerges, sometimes even an idea whose exact origins remain cloudy in retrospect. To me, it is how you get behind that idea that is the vision. Some people know that I used to be a violist, but few people know how I became one. I enrolled in the beginning instruments program at Corona Del Mar High School in Newport Beach, California. It'll probably come as a surprise to no one that I was in equal parts a nerd and a know-it-all. So when the program director asked me which instrument I wanted to study, I emphatically and confidently told him the viola, because I knew not only of the existence of this very esoteric instrument, it was Orange County after all, but also knew it was smaller, higher pitched, and generally more impressive than the violin. When he handed me the instrument, I was confused. But pride kept me from saying anything. I'm glad I stuck with it. As a violist, one gets occasional moments in the sun, and it is critical to have the right player on hand when those moments come around, but more often one plays a supporting role, structural, motivic, rhythmic, and harmonic, especially in a string quartet. I learned to love that role. I loved being in the center of the sound and the texture, and came to understand from it that even the most memorable melody would be so much less beautiful without a sympathetic, aligned accompaniment, and that the effect of a perfectly executed phrase would vanish if it was out of place within the larger context of the piece. When the viola was no longer part of my professional life, I moved into administration and have been fortunate to work for a variety of musical institutions, but none have been more enjoyable than the 8+ years that I spent at Carnegie Hall. I gather there's a misconception that the life of an artistic administrator is glamorous. I don't know where this comes from. I assure you all, I still do my own laundry. The process of constructing a concert season for me is about giving opportunities. There will always be a place at Carnegie Hall for those artists who have long been part of its history. But much of the fun comes in infusing that body with new blood. The most gratifying moments in this job have been those in which I have watched an artist take an opportunity, whether a performance, a commission, or a project, and not just rise to the occasion, but knock it out of the park. There was a time when artists like Jeremy Dank and Gabriel Kahane, or even Michael Gordon, David Lang, and Julie Wolfe, were newbies to Carnegie Hall. But now their imaginations and contributions to Carnegie Hall are immeasurable. Supporting the most promising artists of today is the analog of what I enjoyed most about being a violist. And each success reminds me that every work, every composer, every performer I now love was at one time new-ish, unknown, and in need of support. Nothing discourages me more than overhearing, as I often do at the end of a performance, most often at the opera, some audience member saying, well, she's great, but she's no insert name of no longer performing or long dead artist. Great performances of the past are part of our collective history and are certainly worth remembering, but they should not discredit what we have before us today. Memory is fickle for reasons we may never realize. If we do not believe that the greatest artistic statements have yet to be made, then why do we attend performances at all? No one speaks more directly to audiences of the contemporary relevance of familiar works better than the performers of today, who live amongst us and face the unique challenges and opportunities that we do. And no one captures the experience of being alive in this moment better than the composers who breathe the same air as all of us. If we do not believe that we are living in the best of all artistic times, we are lost. What I love most about Bang on the Can is that everybody involved with this organization seems to feel the same way. In a results-driven world, it is refreshing to see an organization which, though it has had plenty of excellent results within its 28 years, has focused more on the process and how to make each project, each interaction as meaningful as possible, often unquantifiably. Without proper support, nothing can prosper. But I don't need to tell you that. You're all part of that continuum. You're all here tonight because you support an organization that in turn supports composers, performers, recordings, and the creation of music. Bang on a Can stays true to its beginnings. This one-time risky startup continues to bring the best new music to as broad an audience as possible, free from the often oppressive weight of tradition, and they've been so successful that others have followed suit. Thank you, Julie, Michael, David, the Bang on a Can All-Stars, Kenny Savelson, and Tim Thomas for this distinction. It's going to look unique on my bookcase, that's for certain. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge those colleagues at Carnegie Hall whose vision is every bit as important as mine. Clyde Gillinson, Anna Weber, Kathy Schumann, Jason Baghdad, and Susan Brady. My mentors and irreplaceable co-conspirators, Ara Guzalinian, who couldn't be here this evening, Nancy Bell Coe, and the late Robert Harth. My stalwart, generous friends and event co-chairs, Kevin Roon and Simon Yates. And most importantly, my family, who have always supported me, even if they didn't quite understand what I was doing. Represented tonight by my twin brother, Keith Geffen, his wife, Heather, and my incredible father, Malcolm. If he and my mother had not decided in 1976 that there was no future for me and my brother in South Africa, I know I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities that have brought me here tonight. Thank you all. This means such a great deal to me, and it means even more to be able to celebrate it in the presence of friends, both familiar and new. And with that, I would like to bring to the stage one of my dearest friends and an incredible musician, Gabriel Geffen.